it was a prophetic idea of what is happening now, all this control on our behavior. What can we do? We can do something. We can design a better value chain. A concept introduced by one of the biggest economists, Michael Portner, in '85, to use it in the sector of culture. So what is needed is a culture creative value chain to handle all these ideas and to make these cultural projects become competitive. A good concept is social innovation. A group in an open space, in a co-working collaboration area, has a target to design new social models, to adapt the old ones and to redesign them again. So social innovation is also a concept of these open spaces and new environments, new working environments. Cultural heritage is also really important. ICOMSO is a non-governmental international organization and talks about icons, so monuments and sites. Monuments and sites, we mean also archaeological sites. When we talk about cultural heritage, we'll go through these concepts in the next slides. I just want to talk about a bit, one of the big crises that we are living, about the European identity. I was basically focused on banking systems economics. They missed a bit the culture and the cultural heritage. How can it be improved? Koine. Koine means new ways of thinking in this marketplace. Ethos, beliefs or ideas that characterize a community. Epos, each neighborhood, each city should celebrate. Memory is important. Memory should be refreshed with epos, celebration of big days, celebration of big events. Logos, respect of multilingualism. We just talked about identity building. And here we are back. We saw the pyramid of Maslow, ego. There's a crisis of ourself because too much, too fast. And this is does not absolutely helps us. So it touches our innerness, our way of thinking and acting from not a conscious level, but in a deeper level. Cultural heritage needs new kinds of museums to be competitive and with other nations. But how could they become more attractive, more competitive? They should never more be places of contemplation. Museums in the last years were places of contemplations. They should become, in this turbulent digital age, places of interactions, putting in the middle user-centric immersive experiences and following the visitors once they leave the museum with many kind of technologies, push and pull. The concept of creativity, because it is energy, everything is a universal loop. A new culture of innovation should be available, accessible, powered, and structured. Why all this? If you don't have no memory, there'll be no identity and absolutely no dreams. Memory of past episodes is one of the factors of identity building. We'll go now on the last part of the slide to give space also to the audience, to you. I just want to talk about this. This is something great. In the last years, 10 years, 12 years, there's a scientific evidence of how art can impact on our genes. In the 21st century, they are using this scientific research to understand better how a wonderful cultural artistic place can make us become happy, but from a scientific point of view. DNA behavior. If you Google and put DNA behavior, you will see a scientific evidence of what happens from a genetic point of view and epigenetic point of view. Some chemicals, compounds are released when you feel good in a wonderful environment. Epigenetics means mind, body, and environment as one. So, un unicum. That's why it is really important when we talk about environments, creative environments. It is not something static like a building, no. It's something that gives power, energy to our soul, to our mind, and to our body. And there's scientific evidence. So if you put epigenetics and the power of art, you will find so many white papers about this stuff. The impact of well-designed environments on our cells, genes. That's really, really incredible. What happens basically in the DNA, molecular tags release open and close, and release serotonin, dopamine are released. Are tags like this. They are closed. When they open, dopamine, serotonin is released. It's something like programming. I'm a programmer. There's a logical structures called if, then, else. So I see something similar with that in this structure with a if, then, else statement. This gives a lot of sense of what we were talking about. There was a scientific research based on Lamarck that said something about that, but now we have scientific proof. Gilbert, the Human Genome Project in the 90s, said, inside this CD, we have all our DNA. But that was static. Epigenetics is something that is alive. While you are here, something is happening from a genetic point of view, releasing chemical compounds like serotonin, dopamine, and they record. So, and this helps to have a cultural sensitive behavior, to be sensible and sensitive. Also, Zygmunt Bauman have written so many books about this, identities, and how it is really something transforming, something that shapes our cultural identity. Social perception. This is the last part of our presentation, but this is also important. The School of Vienna was talking about that a piece of art is not only a piece of art, it is called in Italiano semioforo, an object that has messages, but only if the observer knows how to decode the messages inside the object. So the observer is the last part of the value chain in a decoding artistic process. And the schools, universities, institutions, specialists should not only educate, but should engage. It's different. Educate when there's it's a one-line communication. Engagement, so many levels of interaction. So we need engagement in this cultural heritage sector. Because there are so many other topics, issues to discover, the ambiguity of art, how to decode masterpieces of a cultural heritage nation, and the matrix is really endless. Thank you for your attention. And I didn't want to be, I want to hear a lot about your impressions about this kind of presentation. So that's why now you have space to do questions that we may be able to give some kind of answers. So. Let's go back to the title. So we will remember what we were talking about. I know too much stuff, too much too fast, but this was the topic. Really, really interesting. Really interesting. So here, and I just want to talk about this. This is not PowerPoint. This is browser-based. As a programmer, I use Markdown remark. Markdown remark means a higher level HTML, CSS. So it's open source. So you can see it on the web, you can see it everywhere on the tablet. I suggest you to discover this kind of technology. It's not PowerPoint, it's lighter. So this is what I mean. If somebody talks about technology, the same guy should know a lot about technology and software and hardware. This is so light, kbytes, nothing. You can see it on the web browser, tablet, smartphone, and it's so fast. You can put videos and with news stickers. It's so easy, so easy. Okay, so here we are at the beginning.
Sorry, what do you call this kind of technology that's not PowerPoint?
This is more powerful than PowerPoint.
What's the name?
It's a web page. A web page. In the 90s, the web pages were HTML. Then decoders worldwide in the last 10 years made each of them in their own communities many kind of languages. This uses Markdown. Markdown, remark, JavaScript. So I see you're more interested in the language programming. That's really important because we live in an information society. How can I spread my ideas everywhere on each device? So this is the reason why I use open source technology. I don't use PowerPoint because this is a browser. If I upload this on my website, you instantly will see it. If I upload this on my website, or if I zip it and send to you an email, you double click and you'll see it on your computer. So this is what I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to explain accessibility means interoperability, means do not having barriers. Your idea should spread instantly. You don't have to waste time to understand the software. That's Adobe stuff. Adobe doesn't, Flash doesn't exist anymore because they were creating barriers to steal your time to learn a software. That's not the way how it should work today. You should dedicate your hours to imagine, not to understand a software.
Right.
We are in an age of imagination. What have you heard about generative design? Architects, the most advanced architects, do not use AutoCAD anymore. They only imagine a concept, and they let the machines work for them. Machine learning or what else? They only draw a sketch, scan it. The machines makes, an architect can make only one output if he stays many hours to create one version of a house, one version of a model. Generative design with machine learning, artificial intelligence, can generate instantly millions of models. This is what I am talking about.
I have a question.
I know that. So many questions now.
No, I mean, actually, I was going to my notes because you were going too fast and I lost my
No, I did it, it was my propose not to let you see slides. I just want you to measure your engagement. I prefer to talk, you know.
Yeah.
Not to, seeing slides is boring.
Yeah.
So just a fast rush, then we can go back.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't very sure if what you did was more of a post-modern philosophy or it's more about management of culture in general. However, my question for you will be for both. Like, I think you are part of the philosophy of the postmodern in terms of time, events, and happening, because all these concepts are definitely valid in this postmodern era of all this. At the same time, I work and research on the concept, on the impact of art and culture on social change.
Oh,
And
social change.
yeah, and the fact that social change, as you say, also it's very slow and it takes a lot of time. However, we live in an era where things are changing like this.
We
and
stay always behind.
we are, as human,
We
are
stay
always
behind. The change is a constant, stays ahead. So how can we make these two opposites go near?
Yeah, how can we?
We have to delete latency. And that's latency, time of latency, the time of delay, using quick tools, having more engagement, having more interaction. We have to dare to, no, we have to dare to imagine in a faster way. And there are techniques to do that, like this one here.
Okay, again, to bring back that to my research, actually I was doing that in Syria, no? And one of my analysis why the Syrian conflict happened is because so many things are happening so fast, and the social change was so slow, and
I can tell you a lovable story.
yeah, so basically this created a conflict, a bloody conflict, you know. So in terms of how do you see, like, you explain it in a great way where I can apply it, or maybe people in the audience can apply it. When we talk about society from different levels of education, of knowledge, of awareness, how can we apply things?
Okay, let's, obviously everybody knows what happened in Syria. The war destroyed so many beautiful archaeological sites, and also specialists died in that worst event. But I want to talk about something not so bad, something nice. Let's talk about identity of stages. Okay, when I talk about identity, I don't only talk about identity of people. I talk about identity of stages. One of the two most important bronze stages of the world are called the Bronze Viriace, found on a beach in South Italy. They have been cloned 40 years ago by one of the famous museums of the world. One of these bronze was under restoration in the Museum of Reggio Calabria, and the technicians were working in the inside part of the statue and on the outside part. But they had a great idea. The first time in the world happened a couple of years ago. They cloned one of the most beautiful statues of the world of Magna Grecia, 2,500 years ago. We're talking about 2,500 years ago. And you can tell me, what did they do? They cloned the statue? Yes. I witnessed all that story. One day, there was the Big Five universities coming in South Italy with their big ship, an archaeological ship. It was an archaeological floating ship to find, to discover all pieces that were not yet in their own inventories. So not in no catalog. And why is this search active, so active today in the world? I will explain why. For one simple reason. The 21st century is culture-based. The 21st century is culture-oriented. But why? Because there's a simple reason. During the Cold War, the power was in the hands of the military empires. In the 80s, 90s, the power was in the hands of economic empires, also bankers. Today, identity is power because it is handled by cultural empires. Cultural empires are, you can talk about governance, cultural governance. So, how to handle cultural heritage. Governance does not mean government. Governance can mean big corporations. But governance is an action handled not by government. When we talk about cultural dominance, it is a great result. They spread, they have a good, they reach the target, so they reach their audience. At the end, the sum of cultural governance and cultural dominance creates that identity is power. Identity fingerprinting. They put the fingerprint of their own identity on a weak nation that doesn't have money to design their own identity campaign and communication, protect their museums. They don't have money to clone their statues, because a statue should be cloned for 3 reasons. in case of war. We saw what happened in Syria. We don't have no trace of the 3D model. If we are in an information society today, we should back up stages. I love this phrase. We should not only back up data, we should back up stages. We should back up monuments in a 3D file. So we should start creating backups of our reality. So this means something more. So, this means something more. This means what?
It's another dimension to reality. You take a another dimension.
But it happened in Syria. It happens every day in all the museums of the world. Pieces, artifacts are not anymore put in their own bed. They're lost. They're lost. So, in China, every year.
Important pieces have 5 or 6 copies. Like usually the other pieces, I'm an archaeologist myself. The important pieces.
So do you agree with me that we should make backups?
Yes, definitely, but usually.
And spread them all over the world. Give one copy of your piece to China, because in China, every year they build 100 cultural centers. Aliev, Baku. Everybody heard about Aliev, Baku.
Yeah.
They are building in, it's something like a city, Baku. Aliev Cultural Center, but with nothing. It's huge, but they don't have nothing inside. So what they need is backups of copies or originals, but they don't have originals. So what I'm trying to say, preservation,
Documentation.
and it is a big issue, really big issue. Just to, when I went to the Epic House Museum in Frankfurt to see the clone statue, I saw this bronze of reaction. It was done by a specialist, Brinkman, of the Epic House Museum. That's my valuation. They start from the starting point to the ending point. So this is my knowledge, this is my ability to follow all the stages, all the steps. I travel a lot. Like here, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for your attention also, because I see nobody's running away. Usually, this is a good discussion. This is a great discussion. To introduce these concepts, it's not easy. It's not easy. When I saw that statue cloned, I went back to South Italy, talked to the director, are you making, are you selling tickets of the originals here? Why? Because the cloned copy of the statue is selling tickets in the Epic House Museum. So people, it can also be interested to pay a ticket to see a clone. You understand what I'm trying to explain? So it is not true when you say, I will never pay a ticket. No, because you don't go to see only one piece of nature, of art, a statue. No, you want to live the experience. Immersive, user-centric immersive experiences. All those words that I told here are deeper than only seeing them. They're all connected.
The book of each, the book of each.
And I love philosophy. At the beginning, there's always philosophy. So it's obvious. If you heard something about the philosophy, Karl Popper, sociology, Marshall McLuhan, it's all based. You have to imagine. They first imagined. And I close now. Hieron of Alexandria, 2,500 years ago. I've written 2 books, Automata, Pneumata. Automata was talking about robots, 2,500 years ago. He only imagined. That's why I'm telling you, if you want to survive in the age of interaction, you don't have to work. I mean, the heavy stuff should be, try to be the workflow of the job should be designed better by organizational designers. That's the problem. To put the hardware and software in the right spots. This is the problem. Today they only open a computer and say, work. That's not the way it should be. That was in the 80s.
Thank you very much
Okay.
for this discussion.